transpired there and what it means.
Pikalyovo is one of roughly 400 company towns in Russia. These are cities anywhere from 10,000 to 500,000 who have one industry. And if that industry goes south, everything in the town or city obviously gets in trouble. Pikalyovo was a single industry town based around a cement factory and a factory that produced cement forms and a factory that produced equipment for cement factories. So when cement factories went south, the whole town was unemployed. Okay? The Russian government has no plan to deal with that. Pikalyovo exploded for two reasons, I think. First, it's close to St. Petersburg, so journalists could get to it. Suppose you give a demonstration and no journalist shows up. There have been other Pikalyovos already out in the hinterlands, but because nobody can get to them, nobody knows very much about it. There's a really tragic situation that's beginning to attract some attention in a Wolfram factory town in the Far East, and there are probably 80 to 100 of these towns where the company is closed. So the question is, these people have blocked a road. They've announced that if they don't get some attention from the center, they're going to block a railroad. Well, Russia is under-highwayed and under-railroaded, so if you start blocking roads and railroads, you really do economic damage. The question is, what would Putin do? What would Moscow do? Well, the smart thing, of course, would be to come up with a policy to address these what are called mono-cities in Russian, that Yevgeny Gontmacher, among others, has been warning about. But instead, what happens is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Putin flies in. He announces, I'm going to solve this. And I'm going to solve this by dumping on the owners. Okay? Well, that would be credible if two things were true that aren't. The first is that the dumping on owners was a media performance because Putin's government has been handing money to the same people who have not been paying their workers for the last months and months. I mean, Deripaska got dressed down in public, but his bank account has been going up courtesy of the Russian government. So it's not a very credible thing. The second is that while some of these workers may get some of their back wages that they were owed and hadn't been paid, unless there's a demand for the products, this is not an economically viable thing. And the third thing I would say is that by intervening in this way, the Russian government has demonstrated that it hasn't got it. It isn't an institutionalized state. Instead it's a kind of conglomeration where the great man has to appear to solve things. Well, that's not the way a functioning state performs. I think Putin and Moscow have set them up for a lot more demonstrations, increasingly violent, because the word is, unless you do that, Moscow will do nothing for you. And if you do that, perhaps it will come and shower money on you. Isn't enough, but it may be the best thing you can do in the current economic situation.
How about Medyev's statement yesterday it was an open threat to fire governors if they were incapable of handling employment.
This is what is known as the Russian version of an unfunded liability. The governors don't control the resources to prevent unemployment. Most of the economy is not driven at the regional level. It's a way, which Putin and Medvedev have been very good at deflecting attention. It would be as if the President of the United States told the governor of Michigan, if you don't solve General Motors' problem, I'm going to fire you. Well, it can't happen in this country. It can happen in Russia. But the governor of Michigan is not in any more of a position to solve the unemployment problem in that a collapse of General Motors produces than the governor of Tomsk is to deal with problems like Pikalyovo. It's just not there. This is all PR. It gets good marks in the Western media that, oh my, he looks like he's really tough and, you're trying to use a law-based approach, but it isn't going to solve the problem. in fact, it's going to create expectations, which once you replace the governors and nothing much happens, then you have another set of problems. And we're seeing that now in Ingushetia, where the getting rid of Zyazikov, who was probably the most unpopular regional ruler in Russia 12 months ago because he was involved in murdering his opponents, his replacement is now just as unpopular as he was, even though there's no indication he's killed any of his opponents yet. At least no proof.